the audio portion of the recording. Welcome to How Al-Anon Works. I'm glad you're all here today. We're looking at a little outline of what the seminar holds for us here, and I will remove that in just a minute when we get into the program. I am Barbara O'Toole, the Public Outreach Coordinator for the Fort Worth Al-Anon Alateen Information Service, and I'm glad you're here today. We will get started with our program. And Barb, you are up first, and there you are. You're unmuted.
Hello, everyone. Let's pause for a moment of quiet, followed by the Serenity Prayer. Serenity Prayer. God, grant me this serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you, Barb. And I'm just looking here. I don't know that we have any Spanish speakers, but if we do, please let us know in the chat, and we will help you get some more information. All right. As I said, I am the Public Outreach Coordinator for the Fort Worth Al-Anon Information Service. We are recording today, and you're going to learn how Al-Anon works for the people that work the program. You will hear from 2 Al-Anon speakers, followed by a few minutes when we'd like to hear from you. We'll have a Q&A after our second speaker. We are going to navigate that through the chat, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so I would like to introduce to you our first speaker, Brenda C, and she is from the Azle Sanctuary Al-Anon Family Group. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for inviting me to share on how Al-Anon works for me. And the first comment that I need to make is Al-Anon does not do anything for me unless I work the 3 A's of Al-Anon, which are awareness that I have a problem, acceptance that I can't do anything about it, and and action, taking an Al-Anon action in the program. Al-Anon will do nothing for you until I do those things. I was raised in an alcoholic family. I married an alcoholic and I raised some alcoholic children. So I qualify for Al-Anon program. As a child, I felt like I was different from everyone else. My mother died when I was born, and my dad and my stepmom were both alcoholics. And it was very unstable and there was a lot of abuse, and just didn't know what to expect from one day to the next. I had a very low self-esteem. I had shame. I had self-neglect and self-blame, and I carried those throughout my life. And then when I was 23, I married an alcoholic, and I knew he drank, and I just felt that maybe he would stop drinking if he had a kind woman that would take care of him. I had very deep desire to take care of people, to help them, and to protect them. And I felt like I could do that for him, and then hopefully he would stop drinking. I was wrong. And after several years of him drinking and sometimes not coming home and constantly trying to control me, and let's see, I realized there was a problem and I didn't know what to do with it. So I became aware that there was alcoholism in our home, and I started studying about alcoholism. I'd go to the library and read, and nothing seemed to help. In one of the books, I did learn that there was a group, a support group for people who lived with alcoholics and that were affected by other people's drinking. However, I still had so much fear and anxiety. I could not go to the meetings, but I did read about them. And I started reading on the 12 steps. And the longer I stayed in that relationship, I became very depressed and very isolated, and nothing was working. I was just a shell of a person, and I was there for him at his beck and call. And I was very, very unhappy. I was very desperate for help. Finally, I got a hold of an Al-Anon schedule, and I went to my first meeting April the 1st, 1984. I snuck in hoping no one would see me. I was so ashamed and so embarrassed, and didn't really accept that there was a problem. And then they started the meeting, and they looked at me and asked me if I was a newcomer, and I said yes, and I told them my name. Then I was so grateful I didn't have to say or do anything else. I got to sit, my mind got still, I became calm, and I heard some things they told me. I felt very safe there. At the end of the meeting, they gave me a newcomer package and told me to continue to come for 6 meetings before I decided if Al-Anon meetings were for me. I went home, I read my packet, and I just felt a calmness, a safeness that I'd never felt before. And I couldn't wait to get to my next meeting. In the news packet, there was a paper on detachment, and I read that over and over, and it helped me to take the focus off the alcoholic and put it on myself. And I started going to meetings regularly. My husband did not like it. He didn't like me changing our roles in the family. As I went to Al-Anon, I became more self-confident and realized other people had some of those same issues and problems too. And I found my voice, and I would go home and I would decide what we were going to eat for supper. I started putting my opinion about how we should spend our money and different things we should do. And I got better. I just kept going to meetings and learning all I could, but my family situation did not get better. He got angry. When I told him I really didn't like his drinking all the time and I really thought he needed to get a job, he didn't care what I thought, and he didn't want me voicing my opinion. He wanted me there, and he wanted me to do what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to take care of him. And I did for a long time and didn't fuss about it. I kind of set up this whole thing, and then I became the victim. And one thing I heard at a meeting was I needed to remove the victim. And I started picking myself up off the floor and stopped being the doormat. And as time went on, he got angry and sometimes violent. My next action I took was to get a sponsor. And she has walked me through my recovery. It has been a journey. And she helped me realize there was a God and that he loved me and he cared for me. He was a higher power. I believed in God, but I always thought God was there for everybody but me. I was worthless and I had made so many bad decisions and choices that he couldn't love me. My sponsor pointed out how God was with me in my childhood and different things, how he protected me as I grew, and in my marriage, how he would help me if I would ask for help and let him lead my life. So I turned my will in my life over to a higher power, and things started changing. My husband still did not change, but I changed. I was able to take my daughter and get out of that situation when it got very abusive. And God provided for me. I asked, I prayed every day, I talked to my sponsor, and I went to meetings. And God helped me find a house that I could afford on my income, and all my needs were met. My sponsor helped me keep going, and I started working on some amends. I had done an inventory and found out, I had some good things and some bad things about me, and some behaviors that were familiar to me, and I kept using them, and patterns that I kept doing that would sabotage things in my life. And my sponsor helped me see those. And she told me I needed to make amends for some things. And the first amends I made was to myself. And I forgave myself for many things that I thought I had done wrong. One amends that she said I needed to make was to a high school boyfriend. In high school, we had dated and we had a child. And I was scared. I was full of fear. And I thought if we got married, we'd just have this horrible life. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that for my child. So I took control of the situation and I just pushed him out. I did not allow him to be a part of our lives. He wanted to and he tried. After a while, he finally gave up and he just went his way. So when I made my amends, I wrote a letter. I did not know where he was or what he was doing, but I did know where his parents lived. So I wrote a letter of apology of the things that I felt I had done wrong and how I wanted to change that. And if he wanted to have a relationship with his daughter, he could call me. So he did call me, and we set up a meeting, and they began their relationship, and she was 14 years old. And our relationship, we started working on our relationship and found that we had both had some shortcomings. And he started working an Al-Anon program, and we went together and through Al-Anon and lots of counseling and forgiveness and giving up our resentments, we were married and we had our second child. Today, yeah, I'd like to say it was all roses, but it wasn't. It's been a bumpy ride. But we do have a program, and him and I work in our program and holding on to a higher power and letting him guide us and direct us. We have walked through a lot of stuff. We had some children that started to act out with their addictions and stuff. And today I am glad to witness that they are both in recovery and living a good life. We've been together for 33 years and still working the program. I still go to meetings. I still pray in the morning and invite God into my day. I pray at night and thank Him for taking me through the day. I have a sponsor that I talk with regularly, and I have a higher power, and He is always present, and He's sovereign and knows everything, and He loves me no matter what. Thank you for listening.
Right. Very good. Very nice. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Thank you. That was very inspiring.
Yes.
Now I would like to introduce our second speaker, John H. And John is with the Grapevine Choices AFG. Welcome, John.
Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. I have to let you know up front, I think I'm an undiagnosed ADHD person, and so I have written my little talk out so that way I don't forget something that later on I'm going to say, oh man, I wish I'd said that. So how Al-Anon works for me. It is to remember that it is a very disciplined program, but it's based on a spiritual surrender of my will to a higher power. I believe that we co-create our new life of recovery with our higher power. I have to do my part to stay connected and communicating with my higher power moment by moment. By working through and practicing the 12 steps that we've adopted from Alcoholics Anonymous, I learn, slowly but surely, to surrender more of myself to my higher power day by day. Al-Anon truly is a spiritual program. It helps me see myself as I really am. I am a spiritual being having a human experience, not just a human being having a spiritual experience. I'm a naturalist. I believe that I'm a product of my genetic makeup and how it affects my life, but I also believe I'm a product of my environment, my family of origin, and my life experiences. I learned from my family members, especially my alcoholic older brother, who was 12 years older than me, and my mother, who was raised around an alcoholic grandfather. My mind was conditioned to think, act, and react in certain ways. However, through the Al-Anon program, these unhealthy survival techniques are becoming unlearned slowly but surely and changed in my life. How Al-Anon works for me is to remember that I am learning to live in a community with other imperfect Al-Anon members. As we try to practice the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, and the 12 concepts of the Al-Anon program. Through weekly meetings, I'm developing new friendships, and I'm connecting deeply with those members as we share our experience, our strength, and our hope with one another. We are all equals in the Al-Anon community, and we are anonymous. Whatever is said in the meeting stays in the meeting. And I think that that's the beauty of Al-Anon, is because we know that people are not going to repeat what we've said and gossip and talk behind our backs. And to me, I can be totally free, and that gives me great joy. How Al-Anon works for me also is in my daily reading of conference-approved Al-Anon literature. Now, I have to confess, I'm still a work in progress. Right now, I do a morning reading and I do an evening reading before I go to bed. And my goal, and I said before about the discipline program, is to try to get disciplined that maybe I'll even do a lunch reading and take a moment to pause. You know, I'm retired, so I have no excuse whatsoever to not say, I'm too busy, I got to get back to work, to try to add that third reading a day. Because of the insight that I gain from reading various people's stories, it inspires me to dig deeper in connecting with my higher power and reaching out to other Al-Anon members in times of need. Through my Al-Anon readings, I've learned about the 3 C's. I did not cause alcoholism. I cannot cure alcoholism, and I cannot control alcoholism. I think that was probably in my first or second meeting when I joined a group in 2018 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that I was like, oh, wow, I didn't cause this and I can't control it. and I can't cure it. Alcoholism is a disease. And I've learned also about the 3 A's, as Brenda talked about. I have awareness, or I have to be aware of something, first of all, to be able to accept it. And then once I accept it, I can then take action, hopefully in a healthy and a positive way. I truly believe, I used to be a school teacher, so I'm a recovering school teacher as well. I truly believe that once we have power, once we have knowledge about something, that we truly have power over it. Al-Anon helps me to become more aware about things in my life, to then be able to accept them and then map out a plan of action and make a change in my attitudes and my behaviors in daily living. I am not responsible for anyone else's actions, only mine. Another way Al-Anon works for me is in remembering what some refer to as instant Al-Anon. That is, the slogans. I use at least 2, 3, 4, 5, lots of slogans every day. They help to calm my mind, calm my heart, and calm my spirit, and bring me back into reality and not in a whirlwind in my head. When my mind wants to obsess about something or to blow something out of proportion, I remember, let go and let God. Just let it go and let God. When I'm being critical or hard on myself or others, I remember, easy does it. Easy does it. When I'm being overly judgmental of myself or others, I remember, live and let live. You've not walked a mile in their moccasin. You don't know what they're going through. It's not your responsibility to make a judgment call on this. When I become worried and fretful about tomorrow, I remember that we only live one day at a time. And I try to remember to live in the present moment, just for today. My mind can go from 0 to insanity in a couple of seconds. And when that happens, I remember, how important is it? And when I think I need to fix everyone and everything and control everything, I remember to mind my own business. And last but not least, how Al-Anon works for me is through service. I enjoy setting up our weekly meeting space before others gather, taking a meeting to a recovery center, and to spread the Al-Anon possibility to other people. Leading Al-Anon literature, either at church or in a doctor's office or the public library or other public places. Serving as a sponsor. Through sponsorship, I grow along with the person that I'm sponsoring. I enjoy having the opportunity to support and encourage my sponsee. And I also am honored to serve as the chairperson of the Grapevine Choices Al-Anon family group. So you can see that Al-Anon basically works for me in various aspects of my life. I'm so grateful for the program, for the friends that I have made, and most of all for the changes that it has helped me to make in my personal life. I know there's a phrase that says, it works if you work it and you're worth it. And I truly believe that. It does work if you are willing to take the time to do the hard work to work it. And you know what? We are all worth it. Thank you for letting me share. I'm John H.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
John.
John.
Thank you, John. That was really sweet.
I'll remind you that you are responsible for muting and unmuting, and I just was getting a little background noise there. So just check that and see if you are muted or not. Well, it seems with these great speakers' comments so fresh with us that maybe we should just go right to a Q&A at this time. If you have some question that you'd like to ask one of our speakers, you can go ahead and put that in the chat. and we will take those up one at a time.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. I have a question for Brenda C, because we've wondered about the time when you were in crisis because you started working a program and your partner didn't have a program and had no desire to change his ways. And I just wondered, how did our program with Al-Anon work for you during that crisis period of your life?
Thank you, Barbara. Well, the program worked for me to keep me calm and out of his business and not worrying so much about what he was doing. It did not help him, it didn't help him. He was not happy about me doing program. He didn't like me going to meetings and taking time away from him. And he didn't like the changes he saw in me. He felt kind of betrayed, I think, because early on in our marriage, I didn't complain about the drinking and about him not coming home sometimes and being irresponsible and losing his driver's license and accidents and those kind of things. I always, oh, it's okay. Everything's going to be okay, because I could fix those things as best I could until I couldn't. But the program, the slogans, I would repeat them in my mind, and it would keep me, it would help me stay connected to my higher power and know that he was large and in charge, and that that I needed to do what I needed to do to take care of myself. The program had taught me to take care of myself. And like I said, it made him more angry, and he did become abusive, but I was still able to stand up for myself and become a whole person or a more healthy person. And I continue on that journey today. Thank you.
Gosh, thanks, Brenda C. John, a lot of us are wondering how long did it take for you to be so calm? Actually, but what advice do you have to offer someone who's just coming into the program and they're not sure they even need the program? How do we know if the program's right for us?
Well, I like when we say, in our Al-Anon and the newcomer package, you come back at least 5 or 6 times, but I also love the closing where we say that we love you whether you like us or not. So I think right from the very beginning, how each group accepts new people into the group and to just say, hey, we really do care about you and that we're genuinely, wanting to be in relationship with you. And then sharing how the program has truly helped each and every one of us, and that we are, I was I can say I'm a recovering perfectionist, and now I can say I am perfectly imperfect, and I am okay with that. And so I've learned to calm myself down and stop beating myself up about that, and to know that, I am perfectly imperfect, and love being with people. And that another thing that I realized that Al-Anon does not do, it doesn't have a prescribed instructions that, well, by week 2, you have to be doing this. And by week 4, you must be doing this. And by, in a month, you're healed, you're cured. It's like, oh, no. We let everybody progress at their own pace. We are truly non-judgmental. We love you and accept you right exactly where you are. And to me, that gives me a great calmness, and just being able to love people, because guess what? They've loved me where I am. So I'm going to do the same for them.
Thank you, John. Another question is, do I have to have a sponsor? What if I don't have a sponsor or know anybody?
Well, my thing is
either you or Brenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go
Brenda,
ahead,
you
John.
want to You want to say something, Brenda? Right? You want? Oh, you can go ahead. Again, that's what I love about the program. It is made available to you if you want to learn more about sponsorship and all that, but you decide at your pace. You come to the meetings because right at first, people are very scared, possibly, and they don't know what to expect. Is this a cult group that I'm getting involved in? What's all about this? And so we just love you right where you are, accept you right where you are, and then let you know. And again, I think, and to me, that's where the spirit moves. As different people in the group are talking, they're going to tell a little bit about how important having a sponsor is, what's for them. And then we go on and all that. But we don't push it and cram it down anybody's throat. But it is very important, we will say, and as we share our own stories, to have that person to call and talk to between meetings, and to have somebody to love you, to help walk you through the steps, and to encourage you, but also challenge you. So, yeah, if you don't have one, you're okay. We'll help you get one when you're ready.
Thank you, John. I have a question for Brenda. Brenda, how many years do you have in the program, first of all? And could you talk a little bit, would you mind sharing with us a little bit more about, you mentioned, it sounded like a kind of a spiritual routine that you have in the evenings. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about that. If you could talk about that.
Okay. I am going on 40 years in the program, and I do have a spiritual routine in the evenings and in the mornings. In the mornings, I do my RPMs, which is reading, prayer, and meditation. And I read Al-Anon literature, and I ask God to come into my day and to help me, give me the right words and the right actions, and show me what He wants me to do. And then I do the next right thing. And in the evenings, I pray to God, and I ask and I thank Him for taking me through the day and to giving me courage and keeping me safe and protecting me and showing me what I needed to do. And I usually write down about 5 things that I'm grateful for that happened that day, or other people, or things. I'm grateful for my husband. I'm grateful that we went on a trip and we were safe. Grateful that we have a car and we can go on a trip. You know, uh, Gratitude is a very big part of my life. And I do that every evening before I go to bed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question?
I would like to. This is Brenda B. I would like to ask either one of you, what keeps you coming back to the program? It seems like to me we should be able to just work the steps, get better, and not have to go to meetings all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that, you never graduate from Al-Anon. That's one of those things. It's just about the time that you think you've got everything figured out. I'm doing my recovery and everything. Well, life happens and another surprise comes in, and you've got another new lesson to learn, or to say, I used to do better at that, and I kind of got a little bit sloppy, a little bit lazy on that. So I need the meetings to remind me of my own humanness. Also to have a place to go to get love and support. I love my group, and we love each other, and we truly care about each other, and we want the best for each other, but we don't judge each other. We just love and accept you where you are. So it keeps me coming back. And I have to say this, I'm kind of like the only token guy there in my group, and I've got all these lovely ladies with me, so they need their boy around. I'm just saying that fun.
I'd like to say something on that. What comes to my mind is accepting life on life's terms. And that's why I keep coming back. A crisis will happen. They just happen. And life has its ups and downs, and I need help getting through them because without the support of my group and talking to a sponsor and reading Al-Anon literature, I get caught up in the crisis and start using the behaviors and acting out in patterns that of the past. And I have to be reminded, to not control and to not manipulate. And I don't have to be the one in charge. And also not to have a pity party because I'm not the only one who has crisis. And it just helps me see other people suffer in different ways or can come together and we can talk about how we worked through certain problems. It's just like a clock. It's 1 through 12, 1 through 12. You work the steps 1 through 12. And when I slack, I repeat old behaviors and patterns that make me sick. And I don't like to be sick.
Thank you both.
There's a question on our chat that wonders, does everyone share personal information with everyone in this room? And is there a counselor in that room? What if you don't want to share anything?
I just am always reminded of, this is not a professional group, so there's not a counselor there. We do talk about, I know we read table cards in our group and it talks about the anonymity, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here. So that people are not going to repeat your stuff. And then you can choose to be as open and vulnerable as you want to be. And if you just don't want to say anything, that's okay too. You're just there to listen and to hear, and you learn from other people's experience, strength, and hope.
When I first started, I didn't talk for a long time. I just simply said, "Hi, I'm Brenda," and I pass. I wouldn't read. I didn't do anything. I just would come in, and it was like a classroom, and I listened to all of them and absorbed the knowledge. And but if you want to share, you're free to share, and if you don't want to share, you can always pass. And that's where our 12 traditions come in. We have 12 steps and we have 12 traditions. And the 12 traditions give us freedom to share if we want to. It's entirely up to you. But I will tell you what you give to the program and what you do in the program, the actions you take in the program will help you grow. That's where the growth comes in.
Thank you, Brenda. Does anyone else have any questions? I'll turn it over to you, Barbara.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much. I feel that we've really been privileged here to listen to your stories. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing. We had talked about going over to our alanon.org briefly to look at sharing. If I can get it to cooperate with me here. I'm not getting good cooperation today. I was going to look at how to find a meeting through alanon.org. And for some reason, it doesn't seem to want to do that for me. Well, let's see, maybe it'll do this. That's maybe what I want to do. Okay, I think we're getting closer here. To find an Al-Anon or an Alateen meeting, you can go to al-anon.org, and it brings up this screen, this search screen, where you can just type in your zip code or the zip code close to where you work, and it will pull up all the meetings within whatever search radius you need. This is 25 miles. And you can see that it's brought up for me all the meetings happening close to my zip code, Arlington AFG being at the top, and it has divided them by days of the week. It's telling me exactly where to find this meeting. It is in English. It does have handicap access. And then it just goes through and tells me every day and time that this particular group meets. And there are quite a few meetings for Arlington. And then the next closest one is the Last Stop AFG in Hearst. Northeast AFG has several. And then it's also including a Spanish group, Stepping Stones AFG. Now, if I only wanted to see the Spanish groups, I could select that by taking off English and just seeing Espanol. And then it's showing me all of those in this area. If I just wanted to know which meetings are happening today, I can just pull up Saturday, and it shows me just the Saturday meetings. So there are all these ways to sort. Some of our family groups are just for beginners. This is a beginner's selection here. There you can see Arlington has a virtual meeting for beginners. And there are these other classifications that you can, or criteria that you can select for the meetings. All right. Let's see. Let's go back. All right. So our next meeting, our next seminar, our next Zoom seminar that the Fort Worth Al-Anon Alateen Information Service is offering will be about Alateen. And so we would really encourage you to get that on your calendar for September. Now I'm going to tell you the wrong day here. I believe it's a Saturday, so I believe that is September 6th. And it will be at 2:00 in the afternoon. And by then, I promise we will have our technical difficulties resolved on this. We are all learning, and I'm very grateful to have all of you to learn with. So thank you for joining us today, and I'll look forward to seeing you again. Does anyone have any last words that they'd like to throw in? before we close out?
I would like to thank both of the two speakers today. Y'all were really informative and very helpful. And Barbara, thank you for putting this together for us.
Yes.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
This has been a very meaningful experience for me as well. And, the first time I went to Al-Anon, I learned the Serenity Prayer, which we started with, and that helped me to get to the very first step. So thank you all for those reminders of the early days.
Yes. Yes. Thank you again. Oh, and shall we close with the Al-Anon declaration?
Good idea.
All right, let's do that.
Well, where does it begin?
Let it
Let
begin
it
with me.
begin with me.
Yes.
Anyone,
Anyone,
Anywhere.
anywhere
Reaches
reaches
out
out for help.
Let the
the
hand
The hand of Al-Anon and
and
Alateen
always be
there.
there and let it
Let it
begin.
begin with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Brenda.
very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.